Welcome back to Real Street Spill today. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. Hope you guys enjoy. Now let's get started. It's Asterix early life and background. Michael Louding, also known as Marlo Mike, grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The exact details of his upbringing are sparse in public records, but he became involved in street life at a very young age. By his late teens, he was already suspected of involvement in multiple shootings and murders, criminal accusations, and charges. Louding was charged in connection with a number of killings between 2009 and 2010. Among these were the murders of 1. Chris Newsey Jackson, a rapper killed in February 2009.2, Terry Boyd killed in October 2009.3, Charles Matthews and Daryl Bleak Milton, April 1, 2010. In total, he faced multiple counts of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, an attempted murder connection to Boosie Lil Boosie Badazz. Prosecutors alleged that Boosie, real name Torrance Lil Boosie Hatch, paid Louding to kill Terry Boyd. In a taped interview during his trial, Louding claimed he'd shot Boyd 3 or 4 times and said Boosie gave him $2,800 for it. There's a very striking tattoo on Louding's body, an AK-47 with the words, "Yo Boosie, who's next?" During his testimony, he said it was just a tattoo. However, during the Boosie murder trial, Louding recanted some of his prior statements. He testified that he and Boosie had no involvement in Boyd's killing, contradicting earlier confessions, according to reports. Prosecutors believed that Boosie had ordered multiple hits via Louding. Legal proceedings and conviction. Louding was convicted of first-degree murder for the killing of Terry Boyd in July 2013. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On appeal, his conviction and sentence were upheld. During his trial, jurors heard a taped confession in which Louding named Boosie as having ordered the hit. His defense argued that some of his confessions were coerced, claiming threats to his family and other pressure during interrogation. Psychological, behavioral notes during his testimony. Louding said that at times he heard strange voices in his head telling him to do bad things. There is also suggestion in court documents and media coverage that he was very young when he began violent activity, possibly in his mid-teens. Some reports in defense testimony claim that he was manipulated by others in the criminal world and may have been exploited for his willingness to commit violence at a young age. Legacy, impact. Marlo Mike remains a notorious figure in Baton Rouge criminal history, partly because of his connection to Boosie, partly because of the scale of violence he was implicated in at such a young age. His case raised questions about juvenile sentencing, law enforcement interrogation tactics, and gang music industry violence intersecting with street crime. Despite his recantations, his confessions have had lasting legal implications, and his name is still often brought up in discussions about violence in the Baton Rouge rap scene, if you like. I can dig into recent updates, for example, his current prison status, appeals. What's happened since his conviction? Do you want me to do that? The relationship between Boosie Badazz, Torrance Lil Boosie Hatch, and Michael Marlo Mike Louding is complicated. It mixes real criminal allegations, trial drama, and street rap world lore. Here's a breakdown of what's known. What was alleged and where things are murky: Boosie Badazz and Marlo Mike. Their relationship. 1. Alleged Hitman connection. Prosecutors in Boosie's murder trial claimed that Boosie hired Marlo Mike Michael Louding to kill Terry Boyd in 2009. According to the prosecution, Boosie paid Louding $2,800 for the hit. Cell phone records were introduced that prosecutors said showed Louding traveling from Boosie's recording studio to Boyd's location around the time of the murder and then back. There's a very provocative tattoo. Marlo Mike had a tattoo of an AK-47 with the text, "Yo Boosie, who's next?" Prosecutors argued this was tied to their relationship and the murders too. Boosie's music is evidence in his trial. Boosie's lyrics were used by the prosecution. For example, in his song 187, there's a line, "Yo Marlo, he drive a Monte Carlo. I want that an asterisk, 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 dead today." Experts testified that parts of these lyrics were recorded very close in time to the murder. Boosie's defense argued that some of the lyrics were older recordings that were resampled, not newly recorded to incriminate him. 3. Marlo Mike's confession and recantation when Louding was arrested. He reportedly confessed to the murder, implicating Boosie in ordering the killing. However, during Boosie's trial, Louding denied on the stand that he killed Terry Boyd or that Boosie paid him for it. He claimed coercion, that police threatened his family, and that the confessions were made under pressure for Boosie's trial outcome in May 2012. Boosie was acquitted of the murder for hire charge. The jury apparently didn't find the prosecution's case convincing enough, despite the cell phone evidence and the lyrics. But even though he was acquitted for the murder charge, Boosie was still serving time on other charges, for example, drug-related closing parenthesis. 5. Marlo Mike's fate. Marlo Michael Louding, was sentenced in July 2013 to life in prison without parole for the murder of Terry Boyd. The judge in his sentence called him a cold-blooded hitman and suggested he was infected by Boosie's influence. According to reports, Louding faced other charges as well: multiple murders. 6. Psychological interrogation issues. During his testimony, Louding claimed that he hears strange voices in his head telling him to do bad things. There was controversy about how detectives interrogated him. One detective admitted that his interrogation of Louding lasted hours, but for part of that time, reportedly 8 hours. The tape recorder was not turned on. Louding also testified that he was told by law enforcement that Boosie had put a contract on him, a claim he used to justify cooperating. Interpretation, in context, trust, and loyalty. According to Louding, he considered Boosie like a brother at one point. This suggests a deeper personal relationship than just business, power, and influence. Prosecutors painted Boosie as someone who didn't always pull the trigger himself. Instead, he allegedly used Marlo Mike to carry out violence. Rap vs. reality. The case is a classic example of how rap lyrics and street violence can intertwine in legal battles. Boosie's music was used as a piece of evidence. His defense said it was artistic expression and not literal instructions. Legal ambiguity. Even though Marlo Mike admitted at least at one point to some of the killings and said Boosie paid him, Boosie was still acquitted. That shows how difficult it can be to turn allegations into convictions, especially in complex cases with conflicting testimonies. Youth vulnerability. Marlo Mike was very young at the time of the alleged murders. Reports put him around 17. During some of the killings, this raises questions about exploitation. Was he a loyal street soldier or a teenager being used by more powerful players? If you like, I can map out all the hits Marlo Mike is accused of doing for Boosie with names, dates, and outcomes.
Mike was sentenced to life without parole, right?
Yeah.
Did they talk about the tattoo
Yeah.
in court? So apparently Mike has a tattoo that says, "Yo, Boosie, who next?"
Yeah.
And they used that in the courtroom?
Yeah.
You think that was a big part of him getting convicted, or?
Nah. Low, he got convicted on his statements. You know, I feel like he got convicted on his statements telling about the crime or whatever.
Oh, he made statements?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he made statements on probably multiple stuff.
Yeah.
I think his statements was too pinpoint on